Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video also, by the way, it's 9:30 at night. I'm a little bit shiny, my hair is a little bit of a mess, and this background is a little bit different, but that's because I figured I'd, switch things up a bit, but to also, excuse my printer back here. Today's video is a little bit of a mess, I'm sorry, but it is going to be about things that Asian people are tired of hearing. Now, I know some of this is going to pertain to non-traditional Asians, but also some of these can apply to most Asians as well. As you can tell, I'm Asian. And if you were curious as to what type of Asian I am Chinese. So I am the stereotypical Asian that most people do think of. But I want to talk about some things that I hear all the time that frustrate me to death and frustrate my friends, because I have a couple of friends who are also Chinese. But that's one thing that we can bond about most of the time is this person asked me this and this person asked me that and all this crazy stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling. So the first thing is, where are you from? That's the biggest question that I get all the time. It's where are you from? And for me, it's very easy because it's I'm from China. That's where I was born. I was adopted from China as a baby. But for some people, it's I'm from Philadelphia, and they're like, no, where are your family from? Where are you from? And it's I'm from here. For some people. And there's this comedian who does a really, really funny act where she's jogging and this guy stops her and he's like, where are you from? She's like, San Diego? He's like, no, where are you from? Where are your people from? She's like, where are your people from? She goes, oh, I live here. I'm from around here. She's like, no, where are your people from? He's like, I don't know, it came from England and Ireland or whatever. She goes, oh, would you like a spot of tea? And she just goes off on him. It's so funny because people think, oh, you're Asian, you must be very exotic. But we're not. We're normal people like you. Another one is, can you speak blank? So a lot of times people ask me, sometimes people don't even ask me where I'm from. Some people are like, are you Japanese? Are you Korean? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, well, my wife is Korean. Great. Thank you. I needed to know that information. I think a lot of times people like to sound cool or sound interesting by knowing the type of race you are. It's like me going up to a white person and being like, my boyfriend's white. I know a lot of white people. It's like, oh, well, my wife is Asian. Okay, great, good for you. I don't care. So people try to sound cool and relatable. I know Asian people. But also people just assume what type of Asian you are, and they're like, so are you Korean? It's like, no, are you South American? Don't assume my race, excuse you, or my ethnicity. And then people who ask if I can speak, can you speak, when I tell them I'm Chinese, they're like, oh, can you speak Chinese? It's do your parents speak Chinese to you? I'm like, no, my parents are white. And so it's I was about to say I know white language, but no, I know English. That's the only language I know. I also know a little bit of sign language, but not a lot. But I am learning, well, I will be taking a sign language course in college this upcoming fall, so I'm super excited about that. But anyway, off topic. But when people find out I'm Chinese, they're always like, do you speak Chinese? I'm like, no. Do you speak German? It's always a frustrating question that I get, because it's just because I'm Asian doesn't mean that I speak whatever. Excuse you. I remember when I was younger, especially when I was in middle school and elementary school, people were do you know karate? No. I'm freaking, I don't know, how old? I'm 8 years old. No, I don't know karate. And there are some kids, I did taekwondo when I was, I don't know, in elementary school. I was terrible at it. I hated it. Didn't want to do it. So I didn't even get my yellow belt because I was just not having it. I was like, this is boring. This is stupid. I don't want to do this. So I didn't do it anymore. But like there are a lot of white people who are super into that and they're so good. But it's like I don't just assume like, oh, do you know how to cook spaghetti, Mr. Italian man? You know, like that's like people just are. It's funny how like racist people can be without knowing they're racist, you know? Or people who try really hard to like not be racist, but it's very obvious that they're like trying too hard, and so then it comes across racist. People who think I'm good at math, no, I hate math. I am not terrible at math, but I hate it with a deep burning passion. I'm not good at a lot of math, and I am very happy that I don't have to take any math anymore for the rest of my life because I hated it. And I wasn't really good at higher level math. Like algebra 2 was like the highest level math I was good at. And I told the lady when I was signing up for classes, I think it was last semester, I told her, I was like, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at science. Put me in a class or tell me a class I can take that I'm not gonna fail because I'm not good at these subjects. So she did, and I passed. I passed with flying colors, just kidding. I made like a C in my geosystems class, which is science, and I'm pretty sure I made like a C in my math class. So no, I am not good at math. So if you need help with your math homework, ask your teacher, because I don't fucking know. Oh my god, I remember this one lady. So I was at church one day, and I am the only, I wouldn't say that. I am one of 2 Asians that are in my church. So me and my friend, whose mother also adopted her from China, we're both friends, and this was a while ago, but most of the time, sometimes she doesn't come to church. Most of the time we both don't go to church. Every now and again we'll go to church. But most of the time it's either I'm the only Asian at church or she's the only Asian at church. Rarely are we both there together. But anyway, so it was one of those Sundays I was the only Asian person at church, which is fine, I'm used to it. But there was this lady who was black, and she was the only black person there. Which, you know, our church is very, very predominantly white, but church is kind of one of those things, like church and like hair salons are kind of like one of those things that remain like, what is it, like de facto, like it's just naturally segregated, you know? It's not like, you know, you can't go into a white church if you're black, and it's not like you can't go into a black church if you're white, but it's kind of seen as like, you know, non-normative. But anyway, aside from the point, she like came up to me. I was in the bathroom, right? And I come out of the bathroom, washing my hands. She comes up to me, she goes, do you know of any good Asian restaurants to eat at? And I'm like, no. Like, I don't eat Asian food that often. 2, I don't eat Chinese food that often. I was like, well, what are you looking for? She's like, you know, some really good like Chinese food. And I'm like, P.F. Chang's is a good Chinese place. Like, I know they're not like, because I don't eat traditional Asian food, and most Asian and Chinese restaurants don't serve traditional Chinese food, you know what I mean? The ones that you will find that will serve more traditional style Chinese foods are places that are owned by Chinese people. So like I don't know, the one I'm thinking of is called Mr. Lou's, but they're all like the same. They have like the exact same pictures on their wall, you know, they all go by a different name. There's like Golden Walk and Apple China and Mr. Lou's and, you know, all these like bizarre names. But they're like the ones that are in the strip mall, you know, they kind of look a little sketchy, but you go in there, they have the same picture, they're very small on the inside. But those are the places that will probably most likely serve honestly the most authentic Chinese food, because rarely do big chain restaurants serve authentic Chinese food. Also, fun fact, fortune cookies are not a Chinese thing. But anyway, but I love P.F. Chang's because I don't really like traditional Chinese food. I have a friend who's Chinese, and her whole family is Chinese. You know, she speaks Chinese, she's from China, she's lived in China pretty much most of her life, and then she moved here when she started college. Her mother only speaks Chinese, she doesn't know much English, but she comes over here very often to visit her, daughter, and one day they invited us over for dinner because they said her mom was making a traditional Chinese meal and they wanted to have us for dinner. I was excited because I've never had a traditional Chinese meal and I did not like it. It was okay, but it's an acquired taste, I believe, you know, because it's like if you grow up with eating that type of food, that's the type of food you're used to and that's the type of food you eat and enjoy. But me, I've always grown up around white people. The whole point of this long-winded story is I don't eat traditional Chinese food. I enjoy Americanized Chinese food because that's what I'm used to. That's the type of flavor and texture and stuff that I'm used to. But anyway, so I tell this lady, again, this was like a whole nother story within a story. Anyway, so I'm talking to this lady. She asked me where are good Chinese places to eat. And I say, I don't know, P.F. Chang's is pretty good. She goes, no, she goes, that's an insult to your culture. Okay, what is that supposed to mean? Like, they're like a type of food you're thinking of that you're trying to associate with my culture, like, or with my, because like my culture is not, you know, traditional Chinese culture. That's not my culture. My culture is Americanized because I've grown up in America my whole life, basically. I was adopted when I was like, I don't know, 20 months old. So I've been here for a very long time. I'm 20 years old right now. I was 20 months old about-ish when I was adopted, maybe 18 months, I don't remember. But I've been here for a very, very long time. I have no recollection at all of any Chinese culture in my mind. Like, I don't have that. So it's like, I can't relate to what you're saying, lady. I'm sorry. Like, I don't think P.F. Chang's is an insult to my culture because my culture is rooted pretty much here in America because that's what I've been surrounded with. And so I know, like, people say stuff like that because they think they're being, like, cultured. They think they're being, you know, like, look at me, I know so much about your culture. Look at me, I'm so knowledgeable about Asian culture. But it's like you just come off as insulting and you come off as racist. So that's obnoxious. Whenever I go into nail salons, sometimes people will be like, do you know what they're saying? No, I don't know what the fuck they're saying. I don't even know what language they're speaking. They could be speaking Chinese. They could be speaking Korean. I don't know. Sometimes people will come up to me in those places and speak to me in whatever language they're speaking in. And I just look at them and I'm like, I don't know. I don't speak whatever you're speaking. I remember I went into this, I went into Mr. Lu's, the Chinese restaurant. And the cooks like looked at me and they like said something to me and I looked at them and I was like, what? And then they realized that I didn't know what the fuck they were saying and then they went about their business because I guess they wanted to talk gossip about me and I didn't understand. And then the one thing that also really irritates me is like when I was young, like when I was in elementary school again or middle school, like people are so offensive without giving a shit. You know, like older people, sometimes older people, some older people don't. But most older people know better than to go up to you and be like, look at me, I have Asian eyes. It's like, my eyes are not that small. Like, but like, one, I have huge lashes on. Two, I have black liner on, which naturally makes your eyes look smaller. But also, I know white people with smaller eyes than me, so fucking shut up. It's just so offensive. People think it's funny, but it's not funny, it's just racist. You know, and if you can't be funny without being racist, then you're not funny. And then another one that was always irritating is like, even in high school, I had people who assumed that I was super smart because I'm Asian. It's like, no, I just, you know, I'm an average student. I'm not super smart. I know people who are way smarter than I am. I have a friend, Zach, who is an astrophysicist, or he's studying like astrophysics in college right now. I don't even fucking know what that is. My degree is sociology, you know? Like, he's doing fucking astrophysics. So it's like, he's white. Like, he's way smarter than I am. But it's like, people just assume because I'm Asian that I'm smart and they can just ask me these questions about shit that I don't fucking understand. And then they get disappointed when I don't know what the hell they're talking about. God, my dogs are driving me nuts. And then people... And if I'm out with like other people, you know, they either assume that like I'm an exchange student. If I'm out with John, who is my stepdad, he's obviously older than I am, but people think that I'm like, I don't know, like a mail order bride. Like I remember we were on this cruise we had finished, it was like captain's night or whatever it was called, or dinner with the captain, I don't remember, but it was like one of the fancy nights on the cruise, so you could dress up and they would have professional photographers and booths set up where you can go and take professional pictures on the cruise ship. Well, me and John had finished getting ready first, because that's usually how it is, and Debbie and Melissa weren't done yet, so we decided to go out by ourselves and, you know, get pictures and whatever made. So we were walking around the cruise ship, looking around, doing whatever, and this guy stopped us and asked if we wanted our pictures made, and we said sure, whatever. And I guess he was trying to figure out how to pose us, so he asked us, like, what is your relationship, you know, because there were some, like, very obvious, like, sugar daddies on the cruise ship. So he was like, what is your relationship? And we're like, yeah, not the one you're thinking of. And I remember one time we were out getting our flu shots together, because that's what we do. So we were getting our flu shots together, and John was already back there with the shot guy, and I was sitting by myself, and this guy comes up to me and he starts talking to me about everything that I just mentioned. He asked me where I'm from, he asked me all these questions about my ethnicity and all that stuff. And then he starts talking to me about his wife, who's over in like Vietnam, you know, and she's like over there because something happened with her green card or her visa or whatever, and she's over there until they can get that sorted out. I'm just like, okay. He's like talking to me about like how pretty Asian women are and all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, why are you talking to me? And it was just like, I'm like, are you literally just talking to me because I'm Asian? Like, that's the other thing that's so fucking obnoxious, is people will stare me down, you know? And Mike is like, you know, Mike is sweet. He's like, it's cause you're pretty. And he's like, but also it's cause you're Asian. You know, and I'm like, yeah, it is. It's because I'm Asian. Like, people stare at me because I'm Asian and because they want, I don't know what they want, but it's obnoxious. Anyway, back to my story. But he was talking to me because I was Asian, I assume. And then he's like, then I don't know what he says, but he eventually stops talking and he goes about his day. And then I think he had asked if me and John were like, if John was like my husband or whatever, and I was like, no. Because I guess his wife was younger, and I don't know. I don't know what was up with that, but anyway, so he said, you know, oh, well, my wife is whatever, and she's young, and, you know, the Asian people they're so pretty, and I don't know. It was just, I was like, okay, sir, thank you, bye-bye. And anyway, so he leaves. And this lady who's been sitting here for the entirety of the conversation, she's like sitting like a couple chairs down from me. She's been sitting there for the entirety of our conversation. She goes, you know, it really sucks when you're out in public with your significant other and people just keep hitting on you. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, first of all, if you were listening to that conversation, you would know that I'm not here with a significant other. He is my stepfather, so excuse you. Second of all, mind your damn business and stop listening to conversations that you're not involved in. Third of all, like, it was like she was saying like, oh, it's trouble, isn't it? It's like, I'm sorry, how would you know? Like, do people just come up to you all the time and try to hit on you? But anyway, that's the other thing. We were also at the airport one time, and we were sitting at this bar because they didn't have table seating available because everybody at the tables had already taken up the tables, because the airport doesn't have, you know, like a huge cafeteria usually. Anyway, we were sitting there at the bar trying to have lunch before our flight, and John was on this side of me, Debbie was on this side of me, and I was in the middle. And there was a guy on the other side of John, and he starts talking to John about whatever, and he like looks at me and he goes, so where are you from? Which is like the question that I get all the time that just drives me nuts. And I'm like, I was adopted from China. He goes, oh, that's cool. It's like, my wife is, he was like, I was thinking like Japanese or like Korean, but I guess I was off on both of those. I was like, yeah. He goes, my wife is Vietnamese. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. That's great, great. Oh, really? Wow, that's cool. You know, and he was like, yeah, she's like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't fucking care. It's like, why are you talking to me about this? It's like the only thing you can talk to me about is like other Asian people or about my Asianness. It's like, I'm sorry, can you not talk to me about normal people questions? Like, how is your day going? How old are you? Are you in school? What are you studying? Like, those are normal people questions. You know, not like, where are you from? are your parents Chinese? Like, and so it's just like, it's just so annoying because it's like everywhere I go, like even like now in college, like people are just so like, I don't know what it is. Like, what is it about like other Asians? Like, I see other Asians and I'm like, cool, they're Asian. Going about my life. And that's not even the thing. It's like I see other people and I'm just like, you're another person. You know, like I see other Asians and the first thing that pops into my brain isn't, oh, you're another Asian, I wonder where you're from. No, the other thing in my mind is like, you're another person. Great, bye, have a nice day. You know, like I'm not curious about other people's ethnicities and backgrounds because I don't fucking care. You know, like maybe if they're walking past me and they're speaking like Scandinavian, you know, then I'm like interested because I'm like, oh, what's that language? I don't know what that is, you know, like I wonder if where they're from, you know, that's what interests me. But if I just see a person standing there, I'm not gonna be like, I wonder where they're from, because I don't fucking care, you know? And I know like people have a terrible habit. I don't know, I meant to ask my friend this because I don't know if she has the same issue, but I have this issue all the time where people just stare. It's funny because I don't notice it that often, but like people around me are like, that person's staring at you, they're looking at you, they're like looking you down or looking you up and down or whatever. And I'm like, and some of that is like, is it because I'm a woman, you know, because I know like just being a female, like people do that. But at the same time, it's like, is it because I'm Asian? You know, is it because people don't see Asians on a normal basis or they don't know how to fucking behave themselves, you know? Because, like, when I go out with friends, you know, or other girls, it's like, I don't notice other guys staring at them, you know? Well, because one, also, I don't, like, pay attention to other people because usually if I pay attention to other people, I will make eye contact with way too many people that I would prefer not to make eye contact with. And so I just don't look at people. But like Micah all the time notices like that person was staring at you, those people were staring at you, and sometimes I do notice it, like especially if I'm walking from a long distance and I can just see them and feel them stare at me from that long distance all the way up until the point where I pass them. It's like, can you like, what? Oh god, I just hit that lamp. I'm just like, what are you looking at? Like, can I help you with something? Like, can you not stare at me? Can you not be a fucking rude person? And then there are also like people who just like imitate like Chinese words or like Asian words, and it's just like, you're just being racist and you sound racist, you know? And also, like, I don't ever hear like, I wouldn't say ever, but like, I've never heard a person in my personal life say offensive things about Asians, and offensive things as in like offensive words towards Asians. Like, mainly I'm talking about the word chink, which I can say. You know, it's like the N-word for black people. It's like, you know, we can say it because that's what, you know, it's a power thing. Anyway, but like, I've never heard people say that out loud or ever in my life. I didn't even know that was an offensive term until recently, where this video popped up on Facebook of these like racist people spewing slurs at all these Asians. Anyway, but recently I had this girl who I thought was so sweet. Like, I have met her, oh gosh, like we don't like hang out like in person really. But I've met her many times and she's always super nice and super sweet. She's always super nice to me. And she goes and posts on her Instagram a photo of her smiling. And I guess the sun is shining in her eyes, so she's squinting a little bit. And she puts like hashtag chink eyes. And I'm like, you're Cuban. Excuse you. It goes back to the thing of like, if you can't be funny without being offensive, you're not funny. You know, if you can't be funny, if you can't make jokes without, you know, talking about sensitive topics, then you're not a funny person. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if all of your jokes rely on dehumanizing other people and making fun of other people, then that's not being funny, that's being a bully. Those are the things that just, they grind my gears. Those are the things that really grind my gears. And, you know, just be kind to people. Don't don't ask stupid questions. But anyway, that is everything I have for this video. It is late. I need to take off this makeup. I am shiny as all heck. Do you like my cool picture? You probably can't even see it. It's really neat though. But look at the photographer Walter Arnold, or artist, whatever. He takes photos. Look up his Art of Abandonment project. It's really awesome. But speaking of art, you can find his work and other cool artists' work at our studio downtown. You can follow us on our new YouTube channel at Blissful Studios and Gallery. I will leave that linked below. But that is enough self-promo. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it's a little bit long-winded. I hope you guys enjoyed. Anyway, if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Go down below, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notified of when I upload videos. I'm doing a pretty good job about getting back on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday/Sunday schedule. But of course, if you hit that bell icon, you will be notified of when I upload videos, so you don't have to worry about missing a cool video. But anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next one. Don't be racist. Bye! And we're like, yeah, not the one you're... You know, like, you can't ask me normal people questions. Dog's barking at all this shit. You know... And speak. Excuse my dogs. Chinese, we were thinking about. Well, I don't know what that was, but I'm gonna continue this video and ignore that sound. I'm sure it was the cats.